Hello everyone, as you know, Finland has finalized its NATO membership application. For this reason, it seems interesting to me to speak briefly, like just a note about this country to put this decision into historical perspective, spot the analogies here. So, Finland declared its independence from the Russian Empire in 1917 after centuries of Swedish domination and little more than a century under the rule of the Tsars as an autonomous Grand Duchy. Right? And relations with the Soviet Union, born from the collapse of the Russian Empire, were never rosy. On November the 30th, 1939, the Soviet Union invaded Finland, following the Finnish refusal to cede some territories near the city of Leningrad, starting the famous Winter War. I also made a video about it recently. Stalin also sets up a Finnish Democratic Republic in the occupied territories. Right. On December the 14th, the League of Nations, forerunner of the United Nations, judges the invasion unjustified and expels the USSR. While the Soviets expect little resistance and plan a triumphal parade in Helsinki on Stalin's birthday, 3 weeks after the invasion began, the Finnish armed forces, with the help of thousands of volunteers from all over Europe, and despite the incredible disparity in terms of men and means, they managed to repel the Soviets' assaults and rout the Red Army, which will suffer horrific losses, more than 120,000 men and thousands of means. Do you notice any similarities with current events since the beginning of the list? A first peace treaty was signed in 1940. Finland renounces to the Karelian Isthmus, and following a Finnish counteroffensive that was not crowned with success, another peace was concluded in 1944. Finland manages to maintain its independence, but due to the very strong Soviet influence, it remains strictly neutral, at least until 1995, when it becomes a member state of the European Union. Despite official neutrality and later non-alignment, the Finnish security system has always been based on the memory of what happened in 1939. While other European countries, including neighboring Sweden, cut military spending and let their guard down, especially following the collapse of the USSR, Helsinki has chosen a different path. Since the mid-1990s, Finland has made sure that its armed forces were able to cooperate effectively with forces of the Atlantic Pact if necessary, and in fact, it has collaborated with NATO in the Balkans, Afghanistan, and Iraq in acting as a special partner of the alliance. Military conscription has been compulsory for decades, and despite having 5.5 million inhabitants only, in the event of a war, it can quickly mobilize 280,000 soldiers and 600,000 reservists. Finland happens to have a 1,500 strong artillery arsenal, one of the largest in Europe. Military spending for the year 2022 was increased to 1.96% of GDP, and an agreement was recently concluded for the purchase of 64 American F-35s. All residential buildings in the country must by law include shelters capable of withstanding bombing and chemical attacks. In case of need, there are special built shelters capable of hosting 70% of the Finnish population. The law also stipulates that at all times the country has reserves of fuel for 5 months, grain for 6, and medicines for 3 to 10 months depending on the type. National defense courses are organized every year involving citizens and business leaders, aimed at improving collaboration between different sectors of society and facilitating connections between people who work in various areas of national security, as well as providing everyone with notions necessary to face exceptional situations. Similar courses are organized for regional and local authorities so that everyone knows what to do in the event of an emergency or of war. In a country of only 5.5 million inhabitants, there are 600,000 gun license holders and over 1.5 million registered weapons. The Russian invasions of Georgia in 2008 and Crimea in 2014 only strengthened vigilance. But the large-scale invasion of Ukraine this year made the Finnish leadership realize that one more step was needed. Pirita Zunma, a former NATO ambassador, now Director General of the Foreign Ministry, said that Russia has proved more unpredictable than previously thought and capable of taking enormous risks, suffering heavy losses and mobilizing 150,000 men on the border with a neighbor without general mobilization. Circumstances that remind Finns of the Winter War, in which they experienced episodes and scenes very similar to those that Ukrainians have been experiencing in recent months, but which this time are visible to the whole world thanks to modern means of communication. Finland's accession to NATO is therefore not an unexpected and inconsistent turnaround, but an evolution of the constant security policy that has characterized the Nordic country over the past 70 years. Putin has often complained about the presence of NATO countries on Russian borders. Once Finland joins the alliance, the shared borders between Russia and NATO countries will double with the addition of 1,340 kilometers. Whatever the plan of the Russian leadership was when it decided to invade Ukraine, the results obtained are and will be very different from those hoped for.